Well, I did it. I completed my 2-packs. Last year when they came out with all those 2-packs, I didn't buy a single one. I wasn't interested in them. I mean, the Yellow Jacket was a really great figure, but he came with an Iron Man I already had. If they would have put like Hank Pym in there, I probably would have bought it, but I didn't buy any of the 2-packs last year. This year, I bought them all. And even like the Luis and Ghost one, I said I was going to pass on, but then I saw the Luis figure and the Ghost figure. I don't care for that villain, but it's a really great action figure. So, fuck, I ended up buying all of them this year, so I'm pretty broke, but I have them. I wish they wouldn't come in 2-packs because, you know, you got to think about the guy making minimum wage or the dad with 3 kids. You know, it would be much better if they could just buy the Hulk and not that Wolverine. I would have preferred just to buy the Hulk and not the Wolverine. But these 2-packs are special to me. About 10 years ago, Marvel released these 2-packs in 3 3/4 inch, and pretty much like this exact same 2-pack. The figures were a bit. The Hulk figure was definitely different. The Wolverine figure was almost identical. But so what happened was my ex-girlfriend, she's like, my mom wants to buy you a Christmas present. She wants to know what you want. So I didn't really need anything at the time, but I was at Toys R Us. I saw they had this 2-pack. They had Colossus and Juggernaut, strange enough. They had Thor and Iron Man. So I said, you know, if she wants to get me any one of those, that'd be great. Well, the woman went and bought me all 3 of them. And I had a collection of 3 3/4, and because I move around the country a lot, I like to keep shit light and small, so I'd have like this, I have this bag of, this big Ziploc bag of 3 3/4 inch figures that I travel with, that I play with, and do all kinds of shit with. But since I started doing toy photography, I really wanted these bad boys in 6-inch form, and this year they gave them to me, so I was able to pick them all up. It wasn't very hard. They're putting out so much shit right now that it's not hard to find this stuff, so we're living in amazing times. Let's check it out. Alright, now before we start this review, all my previous videos, all the action figures I've really loved. And that's not because I'm some kind of newbie and I'm just like, oh, this stuff is so great, Now there's 3 things I know better than anyone else. You know how wine people, how they're all creepy about their wine and they go and sniff it and taste it and sip it and all this weird shit? Well, I'm like that with 3 things. I consider myself a coffee connoisseur, a weed connoisseur, and an action figure connoisseur. And out of all those 3, I've only been drinking coffee and smoking weed for like 20 years, whereas action figures, I'm 37, so I've been collecting action figures for about 35 years. And when my first action figures looked like this. 5 points of articulation, his head moves, arms moves, and when I was a kid this shit was pretty good. But we did have G.I. Joes, and those were super articulated, and you'd think the industry would have went in that direction, but they didn't. They continued with this. 5 points, like all the X-Men figures, they're bigger, but for the most part it was always 5 points of articulation. Up until the 2000s, when Toy Biz started doing the Spider-Man's classics, they started doing Marvel Legends, and even those weren't perfect. They were getting there. I remember around 2000, some of those Spider-Man, the Spider-Man were perfect. Like, I think for Spider-Man 3, I remember getting the Venom, and that was just a perfect action figure. And then when Hasbro took over for Toy Biz, I was kind of excited because they did such a good job with those Spider-Man figures. But they shit the bed. They started shitting the bed on Marvel Legends, and I stopped collecting Marvel Legends because of that. And they had a lot of catching up to do. And now fast forward to 2019, up until like a year or 2 ago, now these figures are perfect. And when I tell you it's a perfect action figure, and just take my word for it, I know my toys, and I'll explain why. So let's start with the Hulk. No, let's start with the shitty figure first. So this one, I'm not a fan of this figure to begin with. I do own him in 3 3/4. I do like the head sculpt on the 6-inch. I'm starting to like him the more I have him. But one of the problems with this figure, I think I might have to heat this up, but his butterfly shoulder does not go all the way in. So let me show you what I mean. So Toy Biz, they've released a lot of Wolverines, and they were good, but they were tall. They had the stupid ball joints over here, and while I could do this for the most part, the claws were really long and it wasn't perfect. And then I got this guy and I started posing him, and the second I could do this. So when I was a kid, I used to watch the X-Men cartoon, and my brother and I used to fight, and I'd be Wolverine and he'd be like Claws or Mr. Sinister or somebody. And I would do this with my hands. I would put my hands together like that and go ching or ksh, whatever, and we would fight, and I'd pretend to be Wolverine. And as soon as I could start doing this, and not only that, but bending his knees the way I can, just putting him in that pose, you know, with these, and the thing that allows you to do that is these butterfly shoulders, which is new. I think these were only like 2 or 3 years old. At least for Hasbro. I'm sure other companies, imports, have been doing it for longer. But yeah, that, like when I could start doing that, and like I brought this guy out because his butterfly shoulders are screwed up and I can't get him into these poses at the moment, but I'll have to work on that. So this guy, for accessories, he comes with a set of fisted hands. I don't know why they do that. You can take the claws out. I'd rather have like a set of open hands like that instead of fisted, but whatever. So for articulation, head goes up pretty far, head goes down quite a bit. Shoulders, these shoulders I gotta heat up. I do know they can go up more than that, but I gotta, or maybe not. This piece here, this is different than this one. If you notice, this one here is thicker, these ones are thinner. That's a nice touch. That's more accurate to the comic. He does have double jointed elbows, but his biceps are so big it's hard to get it all the way up. He does have a bicep swivel and swiveled wrist and a hinge on the wrist and good ab crunch. His legs don't quite do the splits. They probably should for a Wolverine figure, but whatever. He's got a thigh swivel. He has legs will go out that far. Legs will go back that far. And then he has a calf swivel. Focus on this, man. Not on the Hulk. He has a calf swivel. He has the ankle hinge and ankle pivot, which is nice, which is necessary for this figure. So, like I said, I would have preferred to pass on that figure, but he is a good figure. Other than my butterfly shoulders being a little squeezed, I am very happy with, or I'm pretty happy with this guy, I guess. I'm not gonna bitch. So on to this Hulk. So for accessories, he comes with one closed hand and one open hand, which make a pair because on him he has a open hand and a closed hand. Now this Hulk, I own a lot of Hulks. And I have been, this is the best 6-inch Hulk. He just is. So take this off. This is what makes him so amazing. Now he has like a butterfly back. He doesn't have the butterfly shoulders, but they don't come in the front like most figures because it would ruin this. Which means his articulation is limited. All right, just to show you what I mean, I broke out the Bandai Hulk here. He has the butterfly shoulders in the front. Like this is like the best MCU Hulk ever. This guy is just unbelievable. But with it, you know, you have this here, which you can see, but I don't mind that because you can get him into some really good poses. Like he can do that. You can bust out the open hand, almost have that in there. This guy can't do that, but he is really good. Like you can get him like that. You can get him like that. Like for a big figure, he articulates really well. I'm so happy with this guy. This guy, like I said, I've owned a lot of Hulks, and this Hulk is the best. Let's go over articulation. His head is really loose, like it's just stupid loose on this, but it'll go up that far. It'll go down that far, which is really good for a Hulk. Lighting's a motherfucker. And then his shoulders will go back a lot. Alright, so that's good for a Hulk. So if you wanted, the only problem with that is that if you wanted to do toy photography, so you take one picture where he's back like that, and then, you know, like in the movies or in the comics, how he'll take his hands and smash them together. You can't get a good hand smash because he doesn't have them in the front, but I'm okay with that because you get a good chest. So yeah, shoulders go out like that, and then they'll go up. They go up that far. Bicep swivel. Double jointed elbow, hinge at the, or swivels at the wrist, and he also has a hinge. Good ab crunch, really good ab crunch for a big figure. Like, you can get this guy in so many awesome poses. Then he has the waist swivel. He has a thigh swivel. Single jointed knee, it doesn't bend all that much, but for a big figure, that's okay. His leg will go out that much. It will go back not very far, but for a big figure, that's still pretty good. He has really great feet, so he's got a hinge on the feet, and then they do pivot, so that is really great for a really big action figure. So for height, Wolverine comes in at 5.5 inches, and Hulk, he is a very big 8 inches. Maybe a bit more because I measured them like that, so if you lift that up you might get a little bit more. And these figures are really awesome. Go buy them, they're amazing. It's definitely worth it. I know they're expensive, but this Hulk is just badass. Well, that's it for me, guys. Thanks for watching. Hit like if you liked the video, hit subscribe if you can, that'd be awesome, and see you next time.